Alright, so here we are today at TRS. I've got a beautiful black 370Z behind me, but the one thing that sucks about this car is the stock headlight lenses. That shit is whack. Now, after being around sitting in the sun for over a decade, almost all lenses on OEM 370Z headlights are most surely yellowed and faded. Until a little bit earlier this year, there was absolutely no solution to that. Well, the guys at Morimoto, of course, released the complete bi-LED headlights for the 370Z. Cool. But in addition to that, they had the foresight to develop the lenses on it to actually be used as a set of replacements so that guys who wanted to actually refurbish their stock headlights could do so with those lenses. So today we're going to take the headlights off of this 370Z, throw the lenses in the trash, put the new Morimoto lenses on. While the things are open, we're going to throw in some upgrades. We'll tell you what that's all about, show you how it's done, show you a little bit before and after. And I'm pretty sure after watching the video, you'll be vaping your way to checkout. Alright, first things first, you got to preheat your oven to 260 degrees Fahrenheit. Now obviously you got to take the headlights off of your car. We're not going to go through this step by step, but I'm sure you could find some different tutorials online on how to get those things off. So go out to the garage, cut that duct tape, slice those zip ties, a few bolts here, a couple bolts there, and I think you'll be good to go. So now you can bring the headlight over to your workbench, flip that thing around, and you're going to find a few screws all along the outside perimeter that you're going to want to remove. These screws are all Phillips head, so you're going to need a, you guessed it, Phillips screwdriver. Alright, so now that the screws are out, you're going to get this puppy into the oven. Remember, this oven has to be preheated. You do not want those heating elements on or you run the risk of melting the housing. Once it's in there, set a timer for 5 minutes, no more, no less, and you'll be ready to remove the lens from there. Now before you're ready to work, you're obviously going to want to put on your dope new Morimoto camo gloves for optimal results. Prying the lens off, you're going to want to use a flat blade screwdriver, and it's always best to start at a corner. As you can see here, we're starting at the top right near the mounting tab. As you can see, we use the screwdriver to get the initial pry going, but after that we use the seal splitter from Morimoto to help work our way all the way around the outer edge. As you're working your way around the housing, you're going to encounter a few of these clips that hold the lens on too. Make sure to pay a little bit of extra attention to those. Pop the clips up before you can release the lens. Alright, so now that you got the lens off, you've got access to the internals in the housing and you can do a few things. Of course, you can just put the new lens back on, you're good to go, or you can do a few upgrades while you've got access to the inside. Now the first upgrade that we installed here is a new projector lens. The stock Koito 3-inch projector lens is called a Fresnel lens, and what that means is that it has texture in the glass that softens and dims the light output. We're going to go ahead and swap in an STIR 3-inch clear projector lens, which has more optical clarity and thus produces more light output in the beam pattern. Go ahead and show you what that looks like. Alright, so here you're looking at the original setup with the stock lens and the old bulb. Now you're looking at the new STIR clear lens and again the old bulb. As you can see, the light output is a little bit brighter, the cutoff line a little bit sharper, and you've also got a little bit more color along the upper edge of that cutoff line, which produces a little bit of that exotic color flicker when you're driving down the road at night. Now if you just wanted to upgrade something like the D2S HID bulbs, we've got a wide variety of options here at TRS. In this case, you're looking at the Philips XV2, which is a 5K bulb and produces much more luminosity than the original one. It's also worth noting that as these bulbs age, any HID bulb, they lose their intensity over time. So if you've got a 370Z that's a decade old, the light output from the stock one, even if it's still running, is probably only about 50% what it was when it was new. Alright, so if you're looking for the best performance upgrade while you've got these lights apart, obviously that's going to be from the combination of the new lens and the new HID bulbs. As you can see, it's going to be much sharper and also much brighter. But wait, there's more. If you're looking for something a little bit extra than just performance while you've got these things apart, there's a couple aesthetic upgrades that you can do. As you can see here, we've done a custom etched lens with a logo on it to help customize the look of this headlight. Alright, so now that we're ready to install our custom etched projector lens, we're going to go ahead and put in a few paper spacers that are also available in the clear lens section of the TRS website. What these do is helps to position the lens focus-wise so that when it's installed in the stock projector, it produces an optimal beam pattern. Now that that's all in place, you can go ahead and reinstall the lens holder with the 2 screws on the side. Before you got it all the way tightened down, you're going to want to make sure that the artwork on your etch lens is totally straight if you went that route, but if not, at least make sure there's no fingerprints or other dust on that thing because it's going to bug the crap out of you. All right, we're getting there, guys. Now we got to swap over the front trim piece from the old worn out lens onto the new one. If you flip that thing over, you're going to find a few Phillips screws on the backside that you just want to remove, and then you can pop that thing out. Now that that old lens is done for, you can say, bye Felicia, see ya. If you ever thought about installing halos in your headlights, and what better time than now? We're gonna go ahead and throw a set of the profile pivot switchback halos into these headlights before we get them sealed up. Now, there are a couple things that you're gonna wanna remove from the stock bezel to make sure that this install is as clean as possible. All right, so you have this little lens here, and there's a couple clips on the backside that you need to release, and then it slides out off to the left. And then you got to remove the side marker. Again, there's a couple screws there and a little clip in the middle. Just remove all that stuff, push the clip out, and that thing should pop right out. All right, so now you got 2 clips and 1 more screw to remove before you can pop that shroud out. So if you're gonna do it with the best. What we've got here is a profile pivot 90mm diameter switchback halos. These things have been around for a long time. They're super reliable, crazy bright, and look awesome in these 370Z headlights. Now we're gonna install them without the brand new smoke rings, which is actually a smoked cover that goes over the halo. But if you wanted to darken that up a little bit and paint the headlights black, it's a super cool way to be low key with it. All right, so you're gonna need to put the wire through the front side of the shroud. First things first there, you're gonna wanna de-pin that small 2-pin connector. To do that, you just press down on the little metal pins and then you can pull the plastic clip off. From there, you're gonna wanna drill a hole into the front side of the shroud so you can pass that wiring through towards the back from the front side and make it look nice and clean. All right, so now that you've got the ring situated on the front face of the shroud, you're gonna wanna grab a small little pick, something that can help you leave a small mark on the front of that shroud. As you can see, the profile halos have these convenient little holes, these little mounting tabs in 3 places around the outside perimeter. So go ahead and mark the position of those 3 holes, and that's gonna be important because from here, we're gonna use a tiny drill bit, a 1/16 inch drill bit, to drill 2 small holes for each of those mounting tabs, which will allow you to use some fishing wire to tie that thing on to the front face of the shroud. All right, so we're using the LED Concepts Halo installation wire because that stuff is super thin, it's very strong, and it really helps to make this a lot easier when they're tying those halos onto the shroud. All right, so cut 3 pieces of that wire, pass it through the front side of that mounting tab, and then you're gonna wanna use those 2 holes that you drilled in each position, put it around through the back, and tie it a little knot. Get that ring nicely centered on there, and then you can go ahead and twist that wire on the back to tighten it all up. All right, you're basically done here. After you've got those wires twisted together, you can use some clippers to cut off the excess, pull it a little bit tight, and you're good to go. Look at you, installing halos like a pro. Now, a little tip for y'all, you do have to reinstall that 2-pin JST connector. As you can see here, we've used an X-Acto blade to pop those small clips back up on the metal pins, and from there, you can get that clip reinstalled just in the reverse order you took it off in. Now you're ready to go ahead and reassemble that front bezel, put all the little bits and pieces back where you got them from. All right, so now we're on the home stretch. As you can see, we're starting to get this thing back together. We just blew out any little dust or fingerprints from the inside, and we're also using rubber gloves to make sure we don't get any fingerprints or any other junk on the inside of that front lens. It's almost always important that you never touch or wipe anything on the inside of the front lens because you're never going to be able to get it clean again. I promise you that. After reinstalling the bezel back into the new lens using those 3 Phillips screws, you're ready to get that thing mounted back on to the main part of the headlight. Now from here, we're gonna use some butyl rubber to reseal that housing. All right, so as you can see here, we're using the black Morimoto retro rubber, which is a perfect match for the OEM butyl rubber that seals these 370Z lights from the factory. Now, because you already have some glue in there, you're going to want to be conservative with this stuff. Now, don't go crazy with it, because if you have too much, you're actually going to compromise the way that this headlight is being resealed. That being said, the stuff comes out of the box and it's a little bit thick. So as you can see, we're actually stretching it out a little bit to thin up that strand, and we're going to run it all the way around the channel that's around the outside perimeter of the light. Give her one last wipe down, because this is the point of no return. Now, we didn't actually show this in the video, but you do have to get the wiring for that halo out through the back of the headlight housing. The profile halos are also nice because they have an integrated rubber seal that'll allow you to pass that wiring out through the backside. Just drill a small hole, put the seal in, and you're all good. Now, once you've got the butyl inside of that channel, you're going to want to rough fit that front lens back onto the housing in the right place, and you're going to want to put it back in the oven, again preheated 260 degrees for 5 minutes to soften up that butyl glue. From there, the glue will be soft enough so that you can push the front lens back into the housing. You're going to want to work your way all around the outside edge, making sure that it's as flush as possible. I always like to retighten those screws that are around the outside edge too while that glue is still warm, because that's going to ensure that you're getting a perfect tight seal. Alright guys, so if you've got a 370Z and your stock headlight lenses look like this, you've got to do something. At this point, you've got a choice to make, and you got three options. A, you can refurbish the stock headlights with a brand new lens, make them look new again. B, you can do that, plus you can pimp the internals with some new updates, make the light output a little bit brighter. Or C, you can actually go with my favorite, which is the complete XB LED headlights from Morimoto. Not only do these headlights have the lens already built in, so you don't have to mess with any of that stuff, but they got 3 bi-LED projectors, a crazy bright LED daytime running light, a sequential LED turn signal, and they look freaking awesome. If you want to see more 370Z content, then like and subscribe. Chances are we're probably not going to be making any more, because this video was actually pretty damn detailed. See you guys later.